If you told me earlier this year that there would be a game that took the aesthetic of Wuthering Waves and combined it with the world and combat style of Honkai Star Rail, I would have went to the grocery store, bought the largest onion I could find, and slowly peeled it right in front of you so you could suffer the repercussions of your blasphemous lie. But here we are in December 2024 with an open world, turn-based, dark, gritty amalgamation of Wuthering Waves and Honkai Star Rail. Wuthering Rail. Honkai Star Waves. Wonkai Star Raves. Okay, you know what? I think I found my weakness here. Naming things. But what can you expect from someone that named themselves Stix? Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to the worst gacha ever, a video series where I discuss a gacha and tell you guys what I thought in explicit detail as we attempt to find the worst gacha ever. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that little bell notification, that way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post every Sunday. Do not miss out. Now pull out your Dorito bag, grab a vanilla Coke, and let's get talking. ReMemento is arguably one of the most unique gacha games that I've played this year. It isn't just another open world action game. It isn't just another instanced turn-based game. This is a game with an enormous open world, yes. Glancing for a moment at the map is proof of that. There are waypoints that you can teleport to, instance battles that you can farm for resources, like in Honkai Star Rail. These are required for leveling your characters. There are puzzles. Honestly, after investing over 10 hours into it, I can say with utmost certainty, this was something I did not expect. I didn't want to invest more than this into it due to the language barrier present. This is only available in Korean, and while I'm not 100% fluent in Korean, I do definitely understand it. I am half Chinese after all, so naturally by extension of my Asianism, I can read, write, and speak all Asian languages to an extent. I mean, here, let me just translate this as accurately as I can for you. What this says on screen is, make sure you subscribe to Stix's new gacha review channel. He posts every single Sunday at 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you like the video. Leave a comment stating how irresistible Papa Stix is because YouTube told me that it helps the algorithm. And lastly, binge watch every single worst gacha ever video. To prevent myself from ruining the game when it releases, I wanted to be certain that I understood it, but I didn't burn out on a version that I couldn't properly enjoy. Much like in any open world game, you have an enormous world to explore. You can do this on foot like in Genshin or Wuwa, or via mount. Yeah, you did hear that correctly. ReMemento has a functional mount system and it looks pretty damn majestic. Highly detailed, animations are decent, not perfect. There's a small issue where its legs move sometimes without the rest of its body moving. I think it is great possessing mounts in open world games. Genuinely, I believe it's one of the things that most people are excited for in Azure Primelia. Aerial mounts, ground mounts, having another method of traversal beyond running around on foot. Trust me, I did that in Genshin. I did that again in Tower Fantasy, only worse. And then I did it in Wuwa. Admittedly, it was better. Dude, I have sore legs still. Give me a car. Oh, you know what, actually? Wait, no. Ananta already is. Unlike the aforementioned games, you cannot climb, you cannot run, you cannot scale objects. There's no mountain climbing, there's no wall running. Also, admittedly, weirdly enough, there's no swimming. You can jump, but that's about the limit in terms of exploration, which is honestly fine. Do we need another Genshin? No. If you want to focus on other areas, then please do not feel obligated to do what other games do, just do your own thing. You'll encounter monsters out in the world, but you won't directly engage with them like you would in Wuwa or Genshin. Rather, you run at them, you attempt to back attack them, gain the upper hand, and ambush them by using your character's respective interactability. So you whip them, shoot a fireball at them, spank that booty. This triggers an instance battle, which brings me to the combat. You can field 4 characters at a time, with each character taking turns to attack the enemy. Towards the bottom right of the screen, you'll see each character's abilities. Your basic attack, set to the Q key, which is honestly very confusing for me given it is the ultimate ability for numerous other gachas I play, is traditional melee. This builds your active resource, your E ability. The more MP you consume, the more powerful your attack, with each attack differing depending on the amount of the resource consumed. A single point of MP is similar to a normal attack. 2 MP is a powered up, essentially heavy attack, with 3 MP unleashing an ultimate ability. Depending on the enemy, whether it's a single enemy or a group, depending on the elemental type. you're going to want to put a little bit of forethought into how much MP you want to consume to make effective use of it. Also worth noting is the unique animation your character does when charging up their ultimate ability. It is a small visual, but little things like that add up, and trust me, when it comes to the little things, Papa Stix takes note. I am half Asian after all. I'm used to little things. I'm sure some of you can relate. The animations in combat are fantastic, some of the best, not the best, but some of the best that I've seen in a turn-based gacha game that isn't a Hoyo title. I was incredibly impressed by how fluid the combat felt and how flawlessly characters moved during battle. Speaking of characters, take a look at some of them. This right here is Budget Camellia. This is Budget Himeko. This is Budget Ganyu. And I do use the term budget here, not as an insult. These characters truly do look fantastic, but if you can't see the resemblances, then you need glasses. There are 5 class archetypes: tank, DPS, debuffer, support, and healer. There are several elements: water, fire, grass, light, and dark. Each character possesses their own unique animations for each window. The base character window, where you level characters using materials farmed through those open world instanced encounters. The ability window, which also displays individual ability levels and descriptions. Actually, I have no idea how to go about leveling these, which is one of the issues that you encounter playing games in a language that you don't really understand, even with an active translator. The gear window, where you equip gear you farm out in the world. This gear is upgradable. I'm not entirely sure what to call these. When I use my translate app, it tells me that they're mementos, but they're an additional piece of gear that you farm, offering you a statistical upgrade alongside passive ability enhancements. They can be leveled and ascended as well. I think the closest comparison that I could make is a light cone from Honkai Star Rail. There's the Ascension window, which provides you with some pretty major upgrades. This is where you can consume character dupes for the main upgrades and then farmable materials for the outer upgrades. There's a cash shop, and the cash shop offers, among other things, character dupes. Each max rarity dupe costs 50 of those little twirly golden things. I have 20 at present, and the more common characters, the purple, costs 50 or 100 too. I guess for some of them. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure why, given I have all of the characters here on display, but whatever. As noted earlier, there are mounts that you can obtain in game. I have 3 at present, and honestly, I have absolutely no idea how I actually obtained any of them. Well, I know how I purchased a horny goat from one of the cities, but the little fox thing and the reindeer, I got no idea. I only noticed them really after going into this menu to record this segment of the video. Up until this point, I had absolutely no idea there was even a mount section of the game. I don't know, I guess I feel a little silly in retrospect. Each mount does have their own average movement speed and then enhanced movement speed when sprinting. Since these are purple rarity mounts, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume that the golden rarity mounts are faster with significantly better stats, but that's just speculation. I can't confirm it as I have no way really of obtaining a max rarity mount at present. The story is actually pretty intense. Immediately upon beginning the game, you'll be presented with an absolutely fucked up premise: death, destruction, mayhem. This was my kind of game. The narrative was presented in the way of a JRPG. You move from hub A to hub B out in the world. There are a plethora of different side quests that you'll find out in the wilderness, and each hub will present you dungeons to run, new towns to reach, new objectives. The game transitions between static cutscenes and fully pre-rendered ones. The static cutscenes are pretty average, honestly far below the quality of WoW, but the pre-rendered cutscenes look great, and the game is absolutely littered with them, for better or for worse. You can't go 10 minutes in the story without seeing a new cinematic quality cutscene play out. Thankfully, I didn't have to skip any of the story because once again, I can definitely understand Korean, along with all Asian languages. We touched on this earlier with my very accurate live translation of the sequence of events that were unfolding. Honestly though, that is the bulk of the game from what I've experienced thus far. I didn't delve further than 10, maybe 12 hours if you could stretch that out and count the auto grinding I did, because I didn't want to spoil the game when it inevitably launches globally at some point in the future. There might be more difficult dungeons down the line. There might be raids, co-op content, endgame content that I can't even fathom. Who knows? Regardless, let's take a look at the gacha. There are 4 banners at present: a limited banner, a limited memento, a standard banner, and a standard memento. Every 10 pull guarantees you a 4-star unit or memento, depending on which banner you're pulling for. I couldn't find any information on a 50-50, but every pull rewards you with 1 pity, with a guaranteed unit being awarded upon hitting 120 pity. I could be wrong, there may be a 50-50 present, but I couldn't locate any information on the page concerning one, which means, unlike Wuwa, that guarantees a max rarity unit at 80 pulls, or Genshin or Zenless or Honkai Star Rail that guarantees one at 90, this guarantees one at 120, but it is the limited character, unlike Wuwa and the aforementioned games, which guarantee you the limited character at 160 or 180 respectively. Honestly, this is not bad at all. I would take a guaranteed at 120 over a guaranteed at 160 or 180, given my RNG is always absolutely atrocious. Now let's break down my rating. Content, 8 out of 10. There's genuinely a lot to do. Chests and puzzles out in the world, instance battles for farmable resources, dungeons, stories, side quests. The game is absolutely packed. If there's a decent endgame, this would be an easy 10 out of 10. Difficulty, 5 out of 10. The autoplay absolutely decimated every single thing I attempted, with barely any damage being taken, but the puzzles themselves were different and required a brain. I'm sure the difficulty of encounters will get progressively more difficult as you continue to play through the game, however. Free-to-play friendliness, 7 out of 10. A guaranteed limited banner character at 120 pulls is pretty damn good. Being able to buy dupes for the low price of 50 twirly things was great. Much cheaper than a lot of its competition. Gameplay, 7 out of 10. Honestly, the combat, possessing 3 varied abilities dependent on the amount of resource consumed, was a very cool mechanic. Everything was fluid and looked beautiful. Graphics, 7 out of 10. Speaking of beauty, the characters look absolutely phenomenal. The world looks good. Animations do need a little bit of work, but man, this game looked fantastic. Sound, 4 out of 10. I really didn't hear anything that caught my attention. Story, 7 out of 10. This was great, absolutely fantastic storytelling with a really dark twist. Voice acting, 7 out of 10. I'm honestly really not overly fond of Korean dubs in games, but this was pretty good. World, 8 out of 10. The world was filled with monsters, filled with NPCs to take quests from, or to just engage with. It was packed with lore, towns, dungeons, puzzles. It felt alive, it felt lived in. Fun, 8 out of 10. I had an absolute blast in game. There was so much to see, so much to do, and so much to enjoy. Overall, I'd give this 68 horny goats out of 100 frigid furries, or 6.8 out of 10. This was a really fun game, and I cannot wait to experience it in English. Hey you, where do you think you're going? Don't you close out of this tab. I didn't give you permission to do that. Sit your ass back down. Click one of the 2 videos that are gonna be on screen in just a moment, and keep watching my content. Keep enjoying my content.